Okay, it is 7:02, so we'll call this regular meeting of the East Windsor Board of Finance to session. We'll start by saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, attendance and appointment of officers, we do have a vacant spot. Do I have a motion to put Christina in as our regular member, our voting member for tonight?
I will make a motion to have Christina be a, director's her last name is fine.
That's fine.
Okay, for, to be a voting member for tonight's meeting.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any motion carries. Next up, we have elections of officers. Obviously, with Geraldine no longer being on the board, we need to appoint a new chairperson. Have a motion from the floor to nominate a chairperson.
I'd like to make a motion to nominate Bill Symes as our chairperson.
I second the nomination.
Any discussion or other nominees? Seeing none, all those in favor of Bill Symes becoming our chairperson? By saying aye.
I
Opposed? Motion carries. Vice chairperson, nominees for vice chairperson. I'll make one. I'll nominate Tom Talamini to be the vice chairperson.
will second that.
Any discussion or other nominees? Seeing none, on the vote, all those in favor of Tom Talamini being the vice chairperson, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you.
All righty, item number 6, audit presentation.
Is it all right if we?
Absolutely, we'll right up.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, as Heather is handing out the presentations, I'll just make introductions. Again, my name is Mike Van Deventer. I'm a partner in Spade Sable. Ultimately responsible for overseeing the audit work for the town and issuing the reports on behalf of the firm. Heather Seaman is a supervisor at the firm. Heather was really responsible for the day-to-day execution of our audit procedure. So happy to be able to make the December board meeting. As all paid to the status of the audit, we are substantially complete. We intend to issue and release a report by the end of the week. I do not have actual draft financial statements here today, but everything kind of high level is included in our presentation. And then subsequently provided with all bound reports.
I have a couple copies that I printed off the PDF if anybody really wants one. It's 94 pages or 98 pages.
They just keep getting longer.
Yeah.
All right, so if we can, as far as the overall agenda, again, I'll cover the scope of work, provide a quick update of the status of the audit, cover what the audit reports will be, provide some overall financial highlights. I'll make our required communications. Again, all this information will be included in the reports that are issued. As far as the scope of work, again, no changes from what has been performed in prior years. We did do an audit of the town's financial statements. We performed that audit in accordance with both the auditing standards issued by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, as well as the government auditing standards issued by the Government Accountability Office. In addition, based on the level of federal and state funding that was received and expended by the town, we did perform both federal and state single audits. The federal single audit is performed in accordance with the Uniform Administrative Requirements, and the state single audit is performed in accordance with the State Single Audit Act. In addition, we do also perform agreed upon procedures on the end of school year reports that are filed with the State Connecticut Department of Education. In addition to what we call those test services, where we're actually expressing an opinion or a report, we do also provide some non-audit services for the town. So we do assist in the preparation of the financial statements, the schedule of federal awards, the schedule of state financial assistance, and related notes. We also assist in converting the town's governmental fund financial statements to the government-wide financial statements. In order for us to be able to perform these services and remain independent of the town, management is required to take responsibility for those services. Ultimately, Amy, in her role as the finance director and treasurer, has accepted responsibility for those services. Again, in terms of the overall status of the audit, we are substantially complete, and we do intend to issue by the end of this. In connection with the audit, we do issue a number of reports. The main report is the report on the financial statements. We will be issuing unmodified clean opinions on your financial statements. Again, unmodified opinion is expressed when we've concluded that the financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. And that is as established by the Governmental Accounting Standard Board. I do like to point out that our opinion does provide reasonable assurance. It's not absolute assurance. We are not testing every transaction. There are estimates that are included in the financial statements, and therefore we cannot provide absolute assurance. But again, reasonable assurance is still a very high level of assurance. In addition to the report on the financial statements, we do issue a report on compliance and on internal control over financial reporting. In this report, we do not actually express an opinion on your compliance with laws and regulations or on the effectiveness of your internal controls. During the course of performing the audit, if we became aware of or identified a material non-compliance with laws and regulations, or a material weakness or significant deficiency in your internal controls, we are required to include it in this report. This year, we're not reporting any such matters. So the past couple of years, we've had a number of findings related to the school districts. With a material weakness in internal control over the timeliness of their bank reconciliations, a significant deficiency in internal control over revenue recognition for their education grants, and then a significant deficiency over their scholarship funds. So we have removed those findings from this report. In connection with the federal single audit, we issue a report on compliance at the federal award level. In this report, we do actually on your compliance with your major federal programs. For fiscal year 2023, total federal awards expended was about $3.2 million. Your major program was the Education Stabilization Fund at the school district, which was just over $1 million. We did issue unmodified evidence on compliance over that program. And again, we did not report any deficiencies over grant compliance related to that program. We issue a similar report in connection with the state single audit. For fiscal year 2023, the total state financial assistance that was received and expended by the town was about $8.8 million. The majority of that is considered exempt. It's the education cost sharing funds from our testing. The portion that was non-exempt was about $2.9 million. The major programs were the tiered payment in lieu of taxes, the municipal grant aid, and the town aid road grant funds. Again, based on our testing, we did issue unmodified clean opinions on your compliance over those programs, and no deficiencies over grant compliance were noted. Any questions as far as the scope of work of the audit reports that are being issued? Next section goes over financial highlights. And again, I'm sure Amy is reporting to you guys on a monthly basis. So really this information shouldn't be substantially different from what she's reporting. The first slide here goes over your general fund budgetary highlights. Again, for fiscal year 2023, your original budget did provide for the use of fund balance in the amount of $750,000. Your final budget included additional appropriations of $1.3 million. So that resulted in a planned use of fund balance of just over $2 million. Your actual net change in fund balance on a budgetary basis was an increase of $2 million. So again, you had budgeted to use $2 million and you actually returned $2 million. So that resulted in an overall favorable budgetary variance of about $4.1 million. That surplus was really driven by your revenues. Primarily collections on some building permits and fees, as well as the interest income. The permanent fees were on the solar project statement.
Yes.
So really it's the revenue surplus that was driving the overall surplus for the year. Again, your expenditures were about $607,000 less than that. Next slide goes over your governmental fund financial highlights. And governmental funds are important because it identifies, your capital reserves, as well as if you have any deficits in other special funds. The combined ending fund balances in all of the town's funds were about 24.9 million. That was an increase of about 4.8 million from the prior year. Of the 24.9 million, 13.3 million is in your general fund. That was an increase of about 2.4 million from the prior year. Of that, about 10.8 million was unassigned. So that currently represents about 24.5%. Or almost 3 months of your fiscal year 2024 general fund budgetary expenditure appropriations. All of your other funds had an ending fund balance of about 11.5 million, which was an increase of about 2.4 million from the prior year. That was primarily driven by transferring funds into either capital reserves for projects. Overall, there were no fund balance deficits that were reported as of June 30, 2020. Next section goes over your government-wide financial highlights. The government-wide is accounted for on the full accrual basis of accounting. So it captures all the town's capital assets as well as all of your long-term debt. The focus on the government-wide financial statements is really on your unrestricted net position. A lot of municipalities in the state of Connecticut have significant deficits in their net position driven by unfunded pension and other post-employment benefits. The town is reporting a positive unrestricted net position of about 14.8 million. That's really driven by your fund balance in capital reserves, your low levels of long-term debt, and then your well-funded pension plan. So your pension plan was about 80% funded. You do have a liability for that, about 8.6 million. All right.
You're right, Chris.
Yeah, and that's utilizing a discount rate of 6.25%, which is an appropriate discount. On this last section, just goes over our required communications. This first item here talks about our responsibility under the auditing standards. Again, although we assist in the preparation of the financial statements, they are the responsibility of town management. All of the information included in the financial statements did come from the town. It's our responsibility to perform our audit procedures and express our opinion on those financial statements. I'm happy to report that there were no changes in the overall timing or scope of work that was originally agreed upon. In terms of significant audit findings, there were no new accounting standards that were implemented that had a significant impact on the financial statements this year. As I mentioned before, the financial statements do include some significant estimates and judgments. Those really consist of estimated useful lives that are assigned to your capital assets, as well as the discount rates that are utilized to determine your net pension and OPEB liabilities. Again, we did review those estimates. We did deem them reasonable and consistent with what other municipalities have done. Happy to report that we had no significant difficulties encountered in performing the audit this year. We had no uncorrected misstatements, so any adjustments identified as part of the audit and were proposed in the financial statements. We had no material audit adjustments. We did have one significant audit adjustment that was identified and corrected, and that consisted of a write-off of unsupported reconciling items to the school district's cash account relating to prior years. So that adjustment did result in an increase in your general fund revenues and changes in fund balance in the amount of about 160,000. So again, I know we reported material weaknesses in the prior year relating to the bank reconciliation. Last year I knew there was probably an adjustment that was going to have to be made that wouldn't be material to the overall financial statements of the town. As the bank reconciliations are done, you kind of identify, okay, this is the amount that really relates to prior period issues. And so that's what that adjustment is.
So that should be the final adjustment from the prior years from the Board of Administrators. That's all correct, including.
Yep. We had no disagreements with management. We will be obtaining a management representation letter. There are no uncommon representations that will be requested. I just give the example, if we were unable to substantiate a transaction by looking at certain audit evidence and we were relying on the representations of management, we would communicate that. And again, not aware of any consultations with any other independent entities. And then we did have a couple of other matters. So we are issuing a separate management letter. So again, these are just other matters. They don't require a corrective action form to be, completed with the state of Connecticut. They're just recommendations. The first one here relates to maintaining student activity funds in Munis. Right now, those are maintained on a separate ledger system, QuickBooks and Excel. So the recommendation is ultimately to consider implementing Munis for those student activity funds. Sometimes that can be considered an administrative burden, in terms of, running those programs. So if it's not feasible to implement Munis for those funds, we would just recommend that the school district periodically compile the information for the financial statements and actually enter in those amounts into Munis at year end. So again, all your financial information would come directly from us. Another recommendation, and really I'm going to just give Amy credit for this one, is the the posting of year-end audit entries and closing entries. So, again, Munis has 13 periods. Typically, you'll post entries in the periods that it relates to. Oftentimes, I see clients posting audit entries or closing entries to period 13. Really, period 13 should only be utilized after units have been closed out, and you have to post something to a prior year. So again, just the recommendation there is to post everything to period 12 or the proper period and only use 13 in the event that you have a prior period adjustment in essence. And then we did have one recommendation related to the tax office. This year, when we were performing our procedures over the tax office, we noted that the suspended accounts didn't get posted to the quality data system in a timely manner, so they were not reflected in the year-end tax reports. So again, right now, the tax collector is really solely responsible for inputting that and posting it. Recommendation is just to have someone from the finance department review reports before year end, just to ensure that those get posted in the timely manner. And with that, it concludes the presentation. Again, I know you don't have the financial reports, but we're happy to answer questions at any point in time if you just go through them through email.
Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do not have any questions for you, George.
So,
But thank you. I'm pleased. I will say that I'm really pleased with this year's audit in comparison to past years. So thank you all for the hard work that you put into. I know Ryan, you came in and took over. Well, you took over. So thank you for getting it to where it is today. So really, really pleased with how it ended.
So overall, the report says we're in good shape and good health, and pension, we're using a proper discount rate and all that stuff, so we're on the right track. Agreed. You know the other towns rate, like the 6.2, what's most towns?
they probably seem anywhere between 6 and 6.5%.
So we're right in the middle.
Yeah.
All right, well, we certainly appreciate your time and your efforts, and look forward to working with you again in the future.
Appreciate it. Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think your mailing letter is done. It was waiting just to get it signed.
Oh, perfect.
You'll have it tomorrow.
Sign your life away, Jen.
Don't read every word of it.
I did.
That's fine. You can sign it then.
I've been told those don't hold up in court anyways, Jay, but it's the thing for the profession.
What do you mean they don't hold it?
Huh?
What do you mean?
It means you kind of sign it under duress because we won't release the financial statements unless you sign it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
actually might include that.
Yeah, there you go. All right, thank you.
Signed in duress.
Thank you. All righty, moving on the agenda, next would be approval of minutes from our regular meeting on November 15th.
I'll make a motion to approve our regular meeting minutes from November 15th of 2023.
Or second?
I'll second.
All right, there's no additions or corrections, we have a motion, I'll vote in favor of accepting the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Public participation. Participation. Any public participation?
It's his first day. You're doing great.
Doing great. Heather Spencer, 6 Reggie Way. I just stand before you tonight as a town resident in support of my friend Randy Reichley. Randy would like to be considered to fill a vacancy left behind by the untimely passing of Courtney Gaylor last month. Randy has worked on CIP and has served in the town for over 10 years on the Board of Education. Serving on both of these boards myself, I know it provides great awareness and insight in how town financials work. In addition, her personal experience with budgets and finances, running her family businesses, gives her even greater insight into the responsibility needed to serve in your board capacity. So I ask that you please accept Randy's application to fill your board's vacancy. Thank you.
Any other public participation?
Bob Leach, 39 Church Street. I'm here as the chairman of the Republican Town Committee, and just to reiterate what Heather Spencer had mentioned, I would follow the same pathways that she gave you. I just wanted to inform you that the Eastman Republican Town Committee has endorsed Randy as a candidate for fill your vacancy.
Any other public participation? Communications, anything?
None.
None? All right. Yes, Mike. Monthly reports, the town fiscal year town statements from 2023 and 2024.
Oh, I don't think we have anything in there. Unless somebody has any questions, there's nothing really going on. Things are pretty quiet.
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed the reports, nothing stuck out to me as being unusual, but creeping up on the halfway point. But nothing stuck out to me that I saw. Board of Education financials.
Similar situation, we're plugging away, nothing significant to report to everyone. I did include, the projections that I presented to our board of ed in there, as well. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I don't have much else to report.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's.
Okay, I was just gonna ask just a question. So the two recommendations that came from the auditor, are we comfortable? That's something that we're gonna look to implement, or?
Yeah, so as far as the student activity fund recommendation, I can definitely implement that. I just have to reach out to all the admins at the schools and just get them on board. And I ran it by Mike the other day. I said, if we're gonna go through, I'll make sure either quarterly or biannually, something like that. I'll check in and then make sure everything's entered into Munis. And period 13, that all on board with that. So we do that with them too.
Awesome. Again, thank you for all your hard work. Appreciate
Appreciate the patience while we get there.
I have a question, in regards to the report that you submitted.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit more about the invoice that was missing? Like, what was the overall, what was the amount for that? Do you know?
It was upwards of $16,000. So that was an invoice from our previous copier carrier. Before we switched over to Canon, we reached out and said, is everything paid? We thought so. And then that invoice kind of appeared after our previous accounts payable person left. So it was from the previous fiscal year. So unfortunately, we had to eat that one.
So you gave a projection, and again, we're just coming up on that halfway point. So the way I read what you presented to us here is that you are projecting, as of whatever date this was, about a $90,000 shortfall.
Correct. Yep, and again, just to make it clear, it is early on.
Yes.
These are early projections. I do plan to for the board and the finance subcommittee, I'll start doing quarterly. So in a couple months' time, we'll have a more updated number, but yes, that is what I project as of now.
Yeah, just to give a little more context with that too, is we had, it was fairly recent, late, I want to say the last week in November, we had 2 new out-of-district placements, special ed. So that projection looked much different, probably 2 weeks
Yeah, a couple weeks.
when he put it together. So that includes that. Though.
Okay. And that goes under other purchase services, I assume, in this
That one is under special ed.
purchase other.
Yeah, purchase other
Okay,
services.
so that's
Yes,
the 147.
correct.
So it looks like your biggest hit to you guys is in your benefit category, and you've mentioned that a lot of your new employees took benefits.
Yeah, out of the roughly 30 new employees that we had, I would
say the vast majority of them did employee plus one or family.
Okay.
So that was a big hit, and then that line also has the pension reval in it as well, so that came in a little bit higher than we had budgeted.
But well, the way I read this right here is you're estimating your your salaries are gonna be 540 for the other one.
Correct.
Is that because more people are hired at this lower pay rate or?
A little bit of that, but a number of that was due to vacancies.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to speak to that, but the
Yeah, I might have spoke at, the last Board of Finance meeting on that, so, we have a number of vacancies, that get filled during the year, but like, you are obviously, like, if you have a vacancy and if it's unfilled, I'll use like, we had a secretary position that's unfilled for 5 months. So it's now filled, that salary is being encumbered, but obviously it's less than what was originally budgeted for. So one of the things that we are seeing trends since past pandemic is vacancies tend to stay open a lot longer post-pandemic than they did pre-pandemic. So one of the things that we're now tracking is like, what is that? Like, you hate to use the word savings because there's a need for those positions, but you do have a number of positions that go unfilled for a period of time that results into less of a cost that was anticipated, so that they could possibly be adjusted in our salaries going forward, if this is going to be an unfortunate trend with some of the positions. So we have, I know we have a few positions that are still unfilled now, custodian, there's always para positions that are unfilled, and HR director currently. Now, those will be filled, but like I said, sometimes they go 2 months. That's payable. Yep, it sounds payable, so there's a number of positions that was do that. Just can't find people.
Well, consider some of an offset to the benefit side, thankfully.
No, it does. But one of the things, like I said, like, if that's going to continue to be a pattern, an unfortunate pattern, it's something we may be able to budget for if we can get some data on that, what that looks like year to year.
Okay. Any other questions for the?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. It's the year 23-24 transfers. I believe there are 2 of them.
Well, it's the same one. I gotta send it from operations to capital. The
Okay.
digitization project in the planning department ended up costing more money than they thought it was gonna. So she's sending some professional service money over there to cover it.
Okay.
So still coming out of her budget, but
Okay, and then.
I have to do transfers in both the general fund and the capital to be able to put it in capital.
Okay. Have a motion?
Make a motion for transfer 17, transfer planning, transfer amount of 2,500 to line item professional services. And it's going to line item CIP planning facilitation. Yeah, power.
Yeah, second. Any discussion on this? No. Seeing none, vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Transfer number 17 is passed.
And I'll make a motion for transfer request number 18 in the amount of $2,500 from CNR transfer to planning digitization.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Covers our transfers for tonight. Next is reconciliations. Edie?
Town is done through November.
October, but the plan is over the Christmas break to catch up on that. I've been talking with Aaron in the business office, so we have a plan and we know that we have to get on top of that.
Very good. Board of Selectmen updates, referrals, anything?
Nothing.
Cool.
Merry Christmas.
Patrick?
Last week we had at middle school on Tuesday and Thursday, we had grades 5 and 6 band concert on Tuesday, and Thursday we had the 7-8 band concert that was very well attended, 200 plus. In attendance on both nights, and the kids really enjoyed having the families there. Yesterday, we had the Broadbrook concert, so when I was driving through town, may have noticed parking was slim to none to find, but that was very well attended. Again, the kids and families seem to enjoy it. Tomorrow's last day of school before break, and on Friday, not this Friday, but the following Friday, we have a triple header starting at 10:30 in the morning with girls basketball at 10:30, followed by boys JV, followed by boys varsity. If anyone is looking for something to do on that Friday. And Bailey Winter, who's on a junior on the girls basketball team, if you haven't seen the article, was top 25 in the state for girls basketball. So a lot of positive things happening.
What's the date of the triple header again?
29.
29.
All right.
Thank you. That's what makes it 22nd. So. Very good, thank you. All right. We'll move on to new business, and the first item of new business is the Board of Finance vacancy. And Randy, I guess you put your application in?
Have it with me right here.
Okay.
Thanks, you came a little bit. Usually. I don't know how many copies I have.
Well, we can share.
That's not much on it, but. Right. Just briefly, Randy Reichley. Been in town now for 36 years. My husband and I own 2 small businesses here in town. I've worked with many of you on other boards previously. And just looking forward to continuing my community service on the Board of Finance after 10.5 years on Board of Education. Anybody has anything? Questions?
Thank you for your interest, Randy.
Thank you.
Just a few words on the filling of the Board of Finance vacancy. We do have to fill the Republican candidate because it's a Republican position that was elected, that was unfortunately taken from the town in an accident. We have 45 days to fill the position, and I thought 45 days started from tonight because that's when our first meeting was as a new board. But Jason informed me yesterday that it started 45 days from swearing in because she was not able to be sworn into the position. So there's not much time left to fill the position. If it's not filled within 15 or 16 more days, I think the number is, it would go to a special election. So, Randy,
Which would still need to be filled by either a Republican or an unaffiliated board.
yes. So, but as of yesterday, Randy's application was not put in. I did speak to Austin Holden about filling it because he was a name that was popped up, and he just declined. We talked several times, and he declined to be a candidate for the spot. So I'm glad Randy has stepped up, and her application is here, dated today. So I'll ask for the pleasure of the board.
Is this something that we can vote on tonight?
I believe we can vote on it tonight if you feel that she's the candidate who you would like to have join us on the board. I mean, the position is for the Board of Finance to fill. That is our decision who we fill the board with. Again, we are short on time in a way. But I know many people have talked, and there's not a lot of people that have stepped up. So I will. Any other opinions and thoughts?
I'm okay with it.
We don't have, no one else has come forward, right? This is the only application that we have.
As of right now, there's no other applications ever turned into town.
Well, I'm comfortable. I'll make a motion to appoint Randy Reichley to the Board of Finance to cover the open seat.
I'll second it. Discussion or any questions for Randy from anyone from the board? So let them.
I was gonna say, do people know that it's open, like it's been posted publicly or?
It has been discussed. I know the Republican Town Committee has discussed it amongst themselves. Sarah Musk and I have talked a little bit about candidates. Jason and I have talked with little candidates. I reached out to Austin, someone that I knew that I felt would be a potential to fill it. So that's as far as it's gone. To my knowledge, the town has not posted it, or we did not post it. I mean, if we post it, we have how many more days we can.
Give or take January 6th.
And so if we posted it to ask for any of the candidates, we would have to meet on January 6th to make a decision as a special meeting. That's where we're at. Okay. There's a motion on the floor to accept Randy Reichley as the candidate to fill the open position on the Board of Finance. All those in favor? Aye.
Oh, I, sorry. Oh, myself, though.
You guys hired.
Yeah. I was like, wait a minute here.
I need to say signify by saying I, it threw me off for a second.
All those opposed, nay? Motion carries and Randy will be our member of our Board of Finance.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you guys.
Will I get sworn?
Oh, Jay's ready.
Gonna work right now.
But you gotta resign first, though, right, dude?
Resign from what?
You're not.
She's not on anything.
Yeah, but you're on CIP.
No, I was previously.
Oh, you were, okay. You're free and clear.
Hmm?
You're free and clear.
Yeah, you gave us a stack. Raise your hand, repeat affirm after me. Do you solemnly swear or affirm, as the case may be, that you will faithfully discharge according to law your duties as a member of the Board of Finance to the best of your abilities, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Go grab a seat.
You gotta move your bed now. Yeah. We moved that back. Keep it at one.
Okay, move on to the next item of new business, and that is the annual report.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do we need to do anything, or since we put, Christina as a voting member, or?
I suppose because we don't have much items.
No, she was filling Tom's spot,
Right.
right?
So
So
she's
it doesn't
staying-
really matter.
Oh, but I thought Tom's here.
No,
So,
Yeah, I'm on the line.
I haven't heard any eyes out of there. Like anybody,
I was on there, actually, to be honest with you. We have a motion to put Randy in as the fill her position, full-time position if you want.
Okay, I'll make a motion to have Randy take over, the full-time voting position for the remainder of the meeting.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Aye.
That was for the minutes, by the way. We're dealing with.
I got a lot of catching up to do.
All right, we'll move on to the annual report. You have anything on that?
well, you guys got the final draft. There was just a couple changes made. Nicole, thank you for your comments. So I think it's good to go.
Yeah,
We had a couple small changes that formatting I had already
Okay,
picked up on that, but they still didn't fix it in that next draft.
Okay.
I don't know, I don't think of anything big that's in there, right? That wasn't in there in the draft I sent out.
No, the
It's
big
pretty
correction
plain.
was several drafts ago. There was one I took a pretty serious red pen to. But it's in substantially completed shape now, but anyway. I just want to acknowledge and thank Melissa LaBelle for the work that she puts into that. That's a ton of time. That's by charter, something you all are supposed to do. She spends a lot of time compiling that final draft, and the end product is usually pretty good. She and Amy work closely together on that.
yeah, I mean, I read through it, and most of it, and I didn't see anything that stuck out to me as being done.
So that will probably be on the website, if not tomorrow or Friday.
yeah,
And
thank
the
you.
annual meeting is the 28th. 7:00,
7:30.
7:30.
Thank you for taking my edits. I appreciate you.
No problem.
All right, moving on from the annual report, and then next item will be the fiscal year 24-25 budget calendar.
So this has Board of Selectmen dates on there. So the Board of Selectmen process will begin February 15th. So if anybody here has any interest in sitting through the Board of Selectmen meetings on the budget, kind of very similar to yours, which will start in March. So our first public hearing will be March 27th. And then our workshops are the 27th, 28th, April 2nd, April 4th, and April 8th and April 10th. And we have to approve before or by our April 17th meeting for referendum and the mailer.
Yes, the referendum would be basically.
The referendum would be May 14th, would be our first one.
Yes, hopefully the only.
So I just provided it so that you guys all have all the dates of all the stuff going on. Our dates are already in our calendar.
Yeah.
When I do our calendar for the next year, I do all of them already in there.
Perfect. Any unfinished business from prior months, which I don't believe we do. Have
Nope.
any. It's been pretty quiet recently here. Board member comments. I will start from my right this time.
All set.
All set. I'll ask the guy on the phone, Mr. Lanther, anything? Oh, sorry.
Just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Very good.
Yeah. I'll say the same thing.
I'll say more than that. So I do want to say, you know, thank you. I know as we go into budget cycle, I know that we just had the assessments went out, so I know I've seen a lot of comments about that. I'm personally not surprised about where we are. So just certainly want us all to keep that in mind as we move into this budget cycle, that, you know, taxes and increases are something that are heavy on everybody's minds. So just do our best when we come in with our budgets this year.
Christina?
I don't know, Megan. One side, thank you.
All right, well, I'll
Merry Christmas.
finish up by saying, you know, thank you all for coming out tonight. Enjoy the holidays with your family and friends. Don't eat too much. I always do, but it is what it is. It's the holidays. And we'll see you in 2024. Thank you all. Next meeting is January 17th. That's our regular scheduled meeting, 7 o'clock in this room. And with that, do you have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.